In your experience, a client identity service struggling to keep pace with modern business?
They certainly can do. An old business used to worry about its own systems and everything else was outside the company perimeter. These days, a company uses its own systems, its own distant systems, such as in the cloud, or it can use third-party systems, software as a service. All of those have their own identities to be tracked. If one user uses 5 different systems, that's 5 different identities for every employee that you need to worry about. If all of these come back to a single source, then it makes your life a lot simpler. But you need to have a modern identity management system that can spread across all the services you need to access.
With identity service, it's really easy to get it wrong. A lot of organisations jump to automation as a first principle. Actually, it makes far more sense to review what your current processes are, make sure they're fit for purpose, and then automate them. It makes far more sense to create yourself a framework and a culture that you can operate within. For example, agree a set of principles and decisions that can keep you honest. Things can get very complicated very quickly. I've heard a lot about role-based access. Will that fix all of my joiner, mover, leaver issues?
It will certainly help fix it. If you think about what happens in a typical organisation, you have lots of people doing lots of jobs. And in many cases, a given job or role is carried out by lots of people. So instead of giving every individual employee the rights to access every individual system needs to do that job or that role, you can set up a template through your role-based access control that says, to do this job, an employee needs this level of access to these systems, and then by assigning that role to the employee, you can give them the access they need in one change. Likewise, when they leave that role, either through leaving the company or moving to a new role, it's easy to remove their access again. This improves the efficiency when an employee joins a company. It improves the security and the immediacy of the security change when they leave, and it also makes it easier to keep security up to date if they move internally, which is where a lot of companies fall down, leaving stale access in place for employees that have changed position. So it is not a fix in its own right, but it does help speed up the fixes that you put in place. You still need the process in place for your joiner, movers, leavers, but it does make it an awful lot easier.
You want to create a form of basic framework that you can operate within. So for example, investigate your identity sources, such as HR systems, Workday, etc. What level of sophistication do you want in terms of the role-based model? Do you want to include just access rights? Do you want to make it more sophisticated and have license-based access? Acknowledge that you might go through a transition and you might have a balance between RBAC access and more ad hoc access. And as you go through that maturity curve, what you can do is redraw that balance.